We've all been there, hurt, betrayed, disappointed by people we trusted. And when that happens, the natural instinct is to seek revenge, to make them feel the same pain we did. But here's the truth: the best revenge isn't about proving a point to them, it's about proving something to yourself. The best revenge is not retaliation. Choose growth over grudges. We've all felt that sting, the betrayal, the disappointment, the hurt that sits heavy in our chest. And in those moments, it's tempting to hold on to the pain, to carry it with us like proof that we were wronged. We replay the conversations in our heads, imagining what we should have said or what we wish we could do to make them feel the same pain. But here's the thing: grudges don't just keep us tethered to the past. They keep us tethered to the person we were when we got hurt. And if we're serious about living a life of courage, we have to ask ourselves, do we really want to stay stuck in that version of ourselves? Growth asks something different of us. It asks us to loosen our grip on the past so we can reach for something better. It challenges us to shift our focus from how do I make them feel my pain to how do I use this pain to become stronger, wiser, and more whole. It requires us to stop feeding the narrative that we were powerless in what happened to us and start reclaiming our own agency. Because the truth is, we may not have had control over the hurt, but we have complete control over what we do next. Choosing growth over grudges doesn't mean pretending we weren't hurt. It doesn't mean dismissing what happened or letting people off the hook for their behavior. It means deciding that our future is too valuable to let our past dictate it. It means choosing healing over resentment, learning over bitterness, and resilience over revenge. And when we do that, when we make the conscious decision to grow rather than cling to the weight of our wounds, we step into a power that no one can take away from us. Heal instead of hurting back. When someone hurts us, our first instinct is often to strike back, to make them feel even a fraction of the pain they caused us. It feels justified, almost necessary, like evening the scales will somehow bring us relief. But here's what we don't always realize: retaliation doesn't heal us. It only keeps us tied to the very pain we're trying to escape. When we focus on hurting back, we're still letting them control our emotions, our energy, and our story. And that's not power, that's captivity. Healing, on the other hand, is a radical act of courage. It's standing in the aftermath of hurt and making the choice to rise instead of sink. It's refusing to let someone else's actions define who we become. And let's be honest, healing isn't the easy path. It requires us to sit with our pain instead of numbing it, to acknowledge our wounds instead of covering them with anger, and to do the deep, messy work of self-reflection. But here's what's true: healing is the only way we win. Because when we choose healing, we take back our power, we shift the focus from them to us, not in a way that ignores what happened, but in a way that refuses to let it shape our future. We stop waiting for an apology that may never come, and we start giving ourselves the closure we need. We recognize that the best way to reclaim our story is not by causing more pain, but by refusing to let pain be the final word. And in that process, something incredible happens. We begin to see that healing isn't just about moving on, it's about moving forward. It's about creating a life so full, so rich, and so rooted in self-worth that the past no longer has the power to define us. Let success speak for you. When we're hurt, disrespected, or underestimated, the natural response is to want to prove something, to defend ourselves, to fight back, to make them see our worth. We want them to know they were wrong about us. But here's the truth: words rarely change people's minds. Trying to convince someone of our value is a waste of energy, because people who truly see us never needed convincing in the first place. And people who don't, well, they're often too committed to their own version of the story to ever listen. So instead of trying to argue, explain, or retaliate, what if we let our actions do the talking? What if we stopped chasing validation and started chasing our own potential? Because real power isn't in clapping back, it's in leveling up. It's in putting all that energy into becoming the person they never saw coming, the one who doesn't need their approval, their recognition, or even their regret to feel whole. Success isn't about making them jealous. It's about making yourself proud. It's about rising so high that their negativity can't reach you. It's about proving, first and foremost, to yourself that you were always enough. Not because they finally see it, but because you do. And when you build a life so fulfilling, so rich in purpose and joy, you realize something. The best kind of success isn't the one that makes them regret underestimating you. It's the one that makes you grateful you never let them stop you. Forgive, but don't forget the lesson. Forgiveness is one of the most misunderstood acts of courage. People think it means excusing bad behavior, letting someone off the hook, or pretending the pain didn't happen. But real forgiveness isn't about them. It's about you. It's about setting yourself free from the burden of carrying someone else's mistakes. Because here's the hard truth: holding on to resentment doesn't punish them. It punishes you. It keeps you stuck in a loop, reliving the hurt, replaying the betrayal, and giving them space in your mind that they don't deserve. But forgiving doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean we invite the same chaos back into our lives. It doesn't mean we erase the lesson that pain taught us. Some people will apologize and never change. Some will expect forgiveness as permission to repeat their mistakes. That's why remembering is just as important as forgiving, because remembering is what keeps us from walking back into the same fire that burned us. Forgiveness is about release, not reconciliation. It's a choice to put down the weight of resentment, but it's also a choice to walk forward with wisdom. It's knowing that healing doesn't mean reopening the same door, but rather learning how to build better ones. When we forgive but don't forget, we transform pain into knowledge, and that knowledge becomes a kind of armor. Not the kind that makes us hard or bitter, but the kind that makes us stronger, wiser, and more deeply aware of what we deserve. Set boundaries, not traps. When we've been hurt, betrayed, or taken for granted, there's a part of us that wants to teach people a lesson. We want them to realize what they lost, to feel the absence of our kindness, to regret ever mistreating us. And in that space, it's easy to mistake a boundary for a trap, to cut people off, not for our own peace, but in the hopes that they'll come crawling back, asking for another chance. But boundaries aren't about manipulating someone else's response. They're about protecting our own energy, our own dignity, our own well-being.